shortly, we would like to share some schedule details. So all these classes will be conducted on Zoom. We have earlier communicated that to be as a YouTube live, but there is a change because of multiple requests pouring in, and this will all be conducted on the Zoom. Recorded sessions will be made available on Sai Gita Ashram's YouTube channel. And kindly register if you haven't registered. There was a Google form link shared on WhatsApp group, and you can refer to that link and register yourself. Registrations are mandatory for any future communications related to the classes. And point number 4 and 5 are related to the questionnaires or assessment. There will be a Google form link shared with everyone. You're free to go ahead and respond to them. And this will be done weekly once, just to review the concepts, what we are going to get during the weekly sessions. And there will be one final assessment conducted at the end of the 21 sessions, and successful members will be awarded with a certification. So I'll be sharing the number for any queries to reach out to Sai Gita Ashram related to Bhagavad Gita classes. Thank you, and over to Geeta Ma.
Thank you, Vaishnavi. Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupine Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Guru Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Dhyanamulam Gurur Murtihi Puja Mulam Guroh Padam Mantra Mulam Gurur Vakyam Moksha Mulam Guru Kripaha Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullara Vindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Tam Sachanoramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. My humble prostrations to the lotus feet of my Puja Gurudev, Puja Sadguru, Sri 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 Sai Kumarji. My namaskars to Ashram's Uttaradhikari, Sri Kirtimaji, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Sai Shiva Hari Om. So, today, we will begin with the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Every idea and thought necessary for the blossoming of life can be found in the Gita. That is why the wise call it as the encyclopedia of Dharma. The Bhagavad Gita contains 700 slokas, and it is divided into 3 categories. Karma Shatkam. Shat means 6. A combination of 6 chapters is 1 Shatkam. Karma Shatkam, Bhakti Shatkam, Jnana Shatkam. Karma Shatkam is chapter 1 to 6. Bhakti Shatkam is from 7 to 12, and Jnana Shatkam is from 13 to 18 chapters. So today we will begin with the first chapter, Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Every chapter has this prefix yoga. What is yoga? Yoga means the union of the Jivatma with Paramatma. It also means the path leading to the union is yoga. There are different types of paths leading to the same goal for different aspirants. So each path is known as yoga, like karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, raja yoga. When we venture upon any project, we see that it begins on an auspicious note. Then, why did Vyasa begin the first chapter with Vishadam? What is Vishadam? Vishadam means grief, sorrow, despondency. How can despondency be yoga? Is Arjuna's despondency yoga? Arjuna Vishada Yoga means the despondency of Arjuna. Arjuna's state of despondency was not for losses or bereavements in worldly life. He was not grieving for acquiring wealth, prosperity, name, fame, or status. Here we have to discriminate between the ordinary sorrow and the intense grief and despondency felt by Arjuna for the ignorance of truth and dharma. So, Arjuna's despondency was not normal. We cry for worldly gains and losses. If we lose somebody very near to us, very dear to us, or we lose our property, there's losses in business, something happens, some haphazard takes place, some accident takes place. So all these makes us worry. But Arjuna's worry was something different above all this. So the state of Arjuna's grief is said to be yoga. Arjuna was prepared to give up his kingdom, all his royal pleasures too. His heart yearned to know what is dharma and he wanted to live up to it. Therefore, the first chapter is named as Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the despondency of Arjuna. Now, this chapter contains 47 stanzas or slokas. And the main important points which Vyasa describes in this chapter is, first, he describes the description of the warriors, then the sound of conches of the kings, then how Arjuna surveys the armies, and last but not the least, despondency of Arjuna. 10 days elapsed after the war began. Shikhandi shoots an arrow at Bhishma, and Bhishma falls down. He is laid on the bed of arrows. Sanjaya communicates this information to Dhritarashtra. Who is Sanjaya? Samyak Jaya, Sanjaya, one who has controlled his body, who has controlled his senses and mind. Sanjaya had self-control. He was pure at heart. He was a very humble, noble person. So Vyasa temporarily blessed Sanjaya with intuitive faculty through which he could listen to the Gita, see the happenings in the war field, and communicate it to the blind king. He was the official war reporter, Sanjaya. He was qualified to listen, to absorb, and then narrate it to the blind king. The moment Sanjaya tells Dhritarashtra that Bhishma is on the bed of arrows, Dhritarashtra, there was a bolt from the blue for this Dhritarashtra. He got a shock of his life. He thought, my God, the commander-in-chief of the Kaurava army, the greatest warrior whom nobody can defeat, he is defeated. How is it possible? Sanjaya, now tell me, what has happened these 10 days? Tell me clearly. I want to know. So this is how the Bhagavad Gita starts. And the first opening sloka starts with Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Now, out of all the persons, why did Vyasa choose Dhritarashtra, a blind king, to begin the Bhagavad Gita with? Why should he start with a blind king? Many people may have a doubt this. What is the meaning of Dhritarashtra? Dhritam plus Rashtra is equal to Dhritarashtra. Dhrita means to hold. Rashtra means kingdom. So one who is holding on to the kingdom is Dhritarashtra. And what was Dhritarashtra actually holding on to? To the kingdom of Hastinapur. He was blind as well as he was holding on to the kingdom of Hastinapur. So Vyasa has begun this with Dhritarashtra Uvacha because we are also blind like Dhritarashtra. Because we are holding on to the body of this kingdom. This body is the kingdom and we are holding on to it. We think, we presume that this body is the be-all and end-all of life. This body is everything. I'm attached to this body. I love my body. I don't say you shouldn't love your body. In terms of health, you should love your body and take care of your body. But not in the sense of sensual pleasures or comforts. We are attached to this body. We think that the body is everything to us. So we are also blind like Dhritarashtra and holding on to the kingdom of this body. So the first sloka starts with Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavah Mamakah Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. O Sanjaya, having assembled on the war field of Kurukshetra, desirous of fighting the war, what are my sons? Mamaka, my sons, Pandavaschaiva, and the Pandavas. See, here also he had a differentiation. The Pandavas were his brother's children, obviously his children. He could have said, what are my children doing? But he didn't say that. What are my sons? Mamaka, Pandavaschaiva. What are my sons and the Pandavas doing? This was the first question imposed by Dhritarashtra. And this is the opening stanza of the Bhagavad Gita. In the first chapter, Sri Krishna does not speak at all. That is why Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa gives a beautiful illustration. He says, a stone may remain in the river for several number of years, but it does not allow even a particle of water to percolate through it. Likewise, a worldly person does not allow, a person who is steeped in worldliness does not allow any ethical or spiritual feeling to get access to his heart. This was the state of Dhritarashtra. So, once Dhritarashtra asked this question, Sanjaya begins to answer. But first, let us know the meaning of the first sloka. The first sloka begins with the word dharma. And the last word with which the Gita ends is mama. The whole of the Gita states, it emphasizes on my dharma. Mean, what is my duty? First, let us know the meaning of dharma. Dharma kshetre, we are saying. What is dharma? Dharma is a very comprehensive word that includes the whole field of life. It is derived from the root dhar. Dhar means to hold. Dhritarashtra, to hold, as we said. Dhar means to hold. Duty is dharma. Righteousness is dharma. Right moral conduct is dharma. Virtue is dharma. Truthfulness is dharma. Any action by the performance of which man brings happiness, peace, joy, not only unto himself, but also unto his fellow men, is dharma. There are two types of dharma in the world, Samanya Dharma and Vishesh Dharma. What is Samanya Dharma? Samanya Dharma is that the duty towards the family. As the head of the family, as a spouse, what is your duty? As a parent, what is your duty? As a sibling, what is your duty? So, as a son-in-law, as a daughter-in-law, as a father-in-law, mother-in-law. So, fulfilling the duties towards the family is Samanya Dharma. And fulfilling duties towards the society and nation is Vishesha Dharma. Those who do not fulfill their Vishesha Dharma are said to be following the path of Adharma. Now, what was Arjuna's Vishesha Dharma? He was a Kshatriya by birth, so he had to fight the war. During the war, Dhritarashtra was forced to speak a lie by saying, Ashwathama hataha kunjara. Kunjara means elephant. He was compelled to speak this lie. Why? In order to kill Dronacharya from the Kaurava army. Yudhishthira abided to Dharma so strictly and sincerely that the moment he uttered falsehood, his chariot touched the ground for a few moments. You know, Yudhishthira's chariot never touched the ground. It was above the ground level always. He was such a dharmic person. He was the embodiment of Dharma. So the moment he uttered this falsehood, his chariot touched the war field for a few moments. We say, Ahimsa paramo dharmaha. Ahimsa is the supreme dharma, and a typical example is Gautama Buddha. The Mahabharata says, Dharanat dharma mityayuhu. Everything in this world owes its existence to dharma. Without dharma, the whole cosmic order would fall to pieces. He who develops firm faith in dharma can achieve everything and anything. Dharma is the supreme object of endeavor. Dharma comes from the divine and leads us to the divine. That is why it is said, Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Those who protect dharma, dharma in turn will protect them. Like how the Pandavas were following the path of dharma, that is why they were protected by Lord Sri Krishna in each and every step of their life. The first stanza opens with the word dharma. So, now we have known what dharma is. Kshetra means field, dharma kshetre. Now the next word is Kurukshetre. How did the war field get the name Kurukshetra? Kshetra means field, as you know, Kuru. In the bygone eras, Lord Brahma, Indra, and Agni-deva performed rigorous penance on that field for several years. Later, Kuru, King Kuru of the Kuru dynasty, the ancestors of the Kauravas and the Pandavas, plowed that field, and after him it was named Kurukshetra because King Kuru plowed the field. Lord Indra gave a boon to King Kuru that whoever performs penance on that piece of land, or whoever leaves a mortal coil on that piece of land, will ascend to higher realms of existence. Later, Parashurama offered oblations to his ancestors, to his Pitru Devatas on that land. And after that, many wise men, many holy men and sages performed rigorous penance and did many meritorious deeds. So, owing to all these meritorious deeds, like doing penance, giving in charity, all that, it was named Dharma Kshetra because all acts of dharma were conducted on that piece of land. It was Kurukshetra, came to be known as Dharma Kshetra. Now, so Dhritarashtra has asked Sanjaya, "O Sanjaya, what are my sons and the Pandavas doing who have assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra?" This is the first question. So we won't go in detail. Here the army, the description of the armies is given, then the sound of conches. Panchajanyam Hrishikesham Devadattam Dhananjayah Poundram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhimakarma Vrukodaraha. Panchajanyam, Hrishikesha, ruler of the senses. Hrishikesha means ruler of the senses. It is another name of Krishna. Panchajanyam was the name of his conch of Hrishikesha. That means Krishna's. Krishna's conch was known as Panchajanyam. He blew it. Devadattam Dhananjayaha. Devadatta was the name of Arjuna's conch. Dhananjaya means one who has conquered, conqueror of wealth. So that was Arjuna. Devadatta was his conch. Panchajanyam Hrishikesham Devadattam Dhananjayah Poundram Dadmau Mahashankam Bhimakarma Vrukodaraha. Vrukodara is Bhima. Poundram. Dadmau means he blew the conch. So Poundram is the name of Bhima's conch. Then Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha Nakula Sahadevascha Sughosha Manipushpakau. Ananta Vijayam was the name of the conch of Yudhishthira. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro, the son of Kunti, Yudhishthira. Ananta Vijayam. Nakula Sahadevascha, Nakula and Sahadeva's conch were known as Nakula Sahadevascha Sughosha Manipushpakau. Sughosha and Manipushpaka. Sughosha and Manipushpaka were the names of the conches of Nakula and Sahadeva. As the fighting was about to commence, before the war could begin, Arjuna said, Senayor Ubhayor Madhye Ratham Sthapaya Mechyuta Yavadeta Niriksheham 𝘤𝘩𝑒𝑑𝑒𝑚𝑎 𝑛avasthitan 𝘴𝘦𝑚𝑎 सह योद्धव्य अस्मिन् रण समुद्यमे. O Krishna, 𝘤𝑦𝑜𝑟 take my chariot in between the two armies and place it in such a spot from where I can see those who are eager to fight and those whom I have to fight with. Let me see. Place my chariot in between the two armies. So it is the custom of a first-rate warrior to know the strategies of his army, of his enemy, before he could wage the war. So that is why Arjuna asked Sri Krishna to place his chariot in between the two armies. Arjuna requests Krishna to drive the chariot forward and stop it in the middle of the two armies. He observes the positions of the enemy army with whom he has to fight. Like an obedient driver, an obedient charioteer, Sri Krishna takes the chariot in between the two armies and places it there. Arjuna surveys the army, the enemy army. He is taken aback. It was a bolt from the blue. Oh my God, what is this? What? I should fight with these people? They are all my gurus, my grandfathers, my brothers, my companions, my friends, my cousins, my uncles, my grandchildren. How can I fight with them? How can I kill them? Arjuna was overcome by the feelings of I and mine. How can I kill my own people? He was deeply moved by the sight of all his kith and kin. So this was the basis of Arjuna's sorrow. So let us know a small story, like in relation to Arjuna's dolor. There was a principal of a college who was very well noted for his discipline in the college. The college got a very good name. It was renowned for its discipline, for its academic education, for its education, for even in the sports field or extracurricular activities. It was very well known in the university. Everybody praised that college and the principal, because the principal was a very disciplined man. He could not tolerate any wrongdoings from the students. He was very strict. He was very rigid with his rules with the students. He took keen interest in his students' educational career. All the lecturers, staff, and students were very fond of the principal. Under his stewardship, the college was renowned for good education and discipline. There was no ragging in the college, no quarrels among students, and no cheating during exams, because the students were scared. If they did any wrong, they were severely punished. Very much disciplined it was. If by chance anybody tried to copy in the exam or was up to any mischief, that student was severely punished. One day it so happened that a boy ragged a girl in the college. The ragging was very rude, very harsh, shameful, and humiliating. It went to such an extent that the girl student, it was a co-ed college, the girl students' clothes also tore. They were tattered. You know, it was a very big campus. The college had a very big campus, and the neither the administrative staff nor the lecturers nor the class 4 workers could come to know of this incident. Only the students knew. The students were scared of that boy, so they didn't open their mouth when he was ragging. The girl felt so insulted that after going home, she committed suicide. Next day, it was the headlines in the papers, newspapers, that so-and-so girl student from so-and-so college committed suicide. She left a suicidal note saying that because she could not bear the insult in front of all the students, she committed suicide. So a case was filed. Now it went up to the police case. So the police go to the college, and after inquiry and interrogation, they come to know the culprit. That boy, the culprit, the boy student, was none other than the principal's own son. See, the principal was a disciplined man, and his son turned out to be a rowdy. And this girl who died, she happened to be the daughter of the police commissioner. Now you can imagine the power of the case. The power of the police commissioner's daughter. This boy was arrested and put in jail. The principal tried many ways to save his son from imprisonment, but owing to strong evidences, nothing could help him out. At last, as there was no other way, the principal filed a defense case stating that his son was innocent. He was not guilty of any crime. He did not do anything purposely. It was only because unknowingly he consumed liquor, and in an inebriated state, he behaved like that. Can you imagine that principal talking like this? So the court dismisses the file. They don't accept his appeal. He files another case saying that if my son is innocent, he has not done any wrong. If at all you want to punish, you ban all the liquor shops in the city. You take action on the government for allowing the sale of liquor. If liquor was not sold in the city, my son wouldn't have consumed liquor. He didn't know the power of the liquor, so he consumed it. That's what the principal says. Earlier to this, the principal never went against the law. He was such a strict principal, but today, to protect his son, he found flaws with the court, flaws with the government. If someone else was in his son's place, he would have meted out severe punishment so that the guilty should not repeat the mistake. But being his own son, the feeling of my son, mine, the attachment, the affection on his son, he was unable to execute his duty, his dharma. Got it? The feeling of I and mine, putra vatsalya, as you say in Sanskrit, the love of his son had made him forget his duty. The same is the case with Arjuna. Arjuna was in a dilemma. His body was trembling and his mind started whirling and whirling. The Gandiva, which once upon a time Varuna Deva had given him, it was a celestial bow with very, very powerful. That Gandiva slipped from his hand. Earlier, Arjuna fought many battles, hundreds of battles. He fought with the Devatas too, but he was always victorious. He single-handedly fought with the Devatas. He single-handedly fought with the greatest warrior, Bhishma, his guru Dronacharya and Karna, when all these three attacked the kingdom of Virat, when Arjuna was in exile in the kingdom of Virat, in the disguise of Brihanalla, he defeated them. Then, such a great warrior of the highest order, possessing phenomenal powers, phenomenal weapons, was enveloped by the veil of ignorance. So how could he lose his courage and strength in this particular situation on the warfield of Kurukshetra? How could he lose his strength, his courage? It was because of his ignorance. Arjuna enumerates the rationale behind his unwillingness to fight. He says, Arjuna uvacha, na kankshe vijayam Krishna, na cha rajyam sukhani cha, kim no rajyena govinda, kim �ٚ𝘩𝘩𝘦𝘗 va. Na kankshe, I don't want, I'm not desiring. Vijayam, I don't want victory. Na kankshe vijayam Krishna, na cha rajyam, I don't want the kingdom. Sukhani cha, I don't want any pleasures. Kim no rajyena, what will I do with the kingdom? Kim, what will I do? He's questioning with the kingdom. Kim 𝘠𝘩𝘩𝘦𝘗, what will I do with pleasures? 𝘠𝘰𝘷𝘦𝘗 va, life itself is futile. This is what Arjuna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita. Na kankshe vijayam Krishna, na cha rajyam sukhani cha, kim no rajyena govinda, kim 𝘠𝘩𝘩𝘦𝘗 va. Arjuna's dolor for the destruction of his kith and kin melts his heart and throws him off his balance. Paranoid with these thoughts, he refuses to commit the great sin of killing his own kith and kin for the sake of enjoyment of the pleasures of the kingdom. Never before in his lifetime had he done this. Arjuna never got frustrated or dejected or disappointed, but here, particularly in this Kurukshetra war, Arjuna was totally different. He was totally on the negative side. I will not fight the war. Life itself appeared to Arjuna as useless. He felt that even if he was offered dominion over the three worlds, it was of no use. If a valiant warrior like Arjuna could be overwhelmed by grief, what about us ordinary mortals? What about us? Arjuna was such a great warrior of his time. He was in despondency. When he was in despondency, just imagine our state. We cling to all that is transient and ignore the permanent. We are blind to reality and live in dreams. That is why our Shastras say that we suffer from Samanya Vairagya, Prasadi Vairagya, Purana Vairagya. There are three types of Vairagya. Vairagya means renunciation. What is Samanya Vairagya? Samanya Vairagya is that deceptive detachment, that detachment which is temporary, deceptive. It may fade away anytime. When someone in the family passes away, or your friend passes away, or somebody is hospitalized, is in coma state, with all the tubes, oxygen, ventilator, you go to the hospital, you feel so dreadful to see that scene. You will think, no, Baba, I don't want this life. When you go to the crematorium also, when somebody dies, you go to the crematorium. What is the feeling there in the crematorium? Why is this life? After all, it has to end. So the temporary Vairagya comes in you. That is Samanya Vairagya. whether you go to the crematorium or you go to the hospital. Temporary Vairagya, deceptive detachment, that is called in English. Then what is Prasadi Vairagya? Prasadi Vairagya is that when a woman is giving birth to a child, she undergoes a hell of a torture. That pains, the pang, she is not able to bear at all. Then she thinks when she is delivering the baby, na baba na, next time I won't have a baby. I will not give myself to sensual pleasures. It's better I die. I will not give to my body to sensual pleasures. But that is only temporary. Dispassion. There is dispassion in that woman's mind, but only for a while, only for the time being. Afterwards, she forgets everything, and again she's totally blind to reality and lives in dreams. That is Prasadi Vairagya. Next is Purana Vairagya. What is Purana Vairagya? Now all of you are sitting in front of your systems, in front of your iPhones, and listening to this discourse. You listen to pravachans, discourses, bhajans, you attend satsangs, and a type of renunciation comes into you. Yes, I will not do like this. Yes, I will start japa, I will start meditating, I will do namasmarana, I will follow the vow of silence, mauna vrata. You make so many plans, but once the satsang gets over or the pravachan gets over, gone, finish, everything goes away from the mind. It's like a national highway. You listen from, you don't listen, you hear from one ear and leave it from the other ear. If you listen, you won't forget. You will reflect on it. So you hear, even in satsangs, we don't try to listen. We hear. That is the greatest mistake we make, because the mind keeps on traveling and traveling. And that is Purana Vairagya. So we suffer with so many Vairagyas. Smashana Vairagya, Prasudi Vairagya, Purana Vairagya. Now, a small boy is there. He sees a fish in water. It's swimming in the water. That foolish boy sees the fish and thinks, aha, so nice, this fish is looking so pretty, orange color, black stripes, white stripes, blue dots, so beautiful, so pretty it is. But poor fish, it is struggling in the water. It wants to come out of the water. That foolish boy thinks. And what he does, he takes out the fish from the water, holds it, keeps it in his pocket, comes home, spreads a mattress and keeps the fish on the mattress. And he just sits like this and looks at the fish. So pretty. That poor fish is struggling to get into the water, to get back its source. But this boy brought it out of its source. That poor fish is struggling, and this foolish boy thinks that the fish is dancing. He looks at the fish dancing and he thinks, oh, the fish may be feeling cold. It was wet in the water. Let me put some hot beverage into its mouth. He goes and gets some hot beverage, tries to open its tiny mouth and put a few drops of the beverage. What happens? The fish dies. So we are also like the fish out of the water, struggling in this mundane existence, the world. We need to get back to our source from where we have come. That is why our Guruji, our Pujya Sadguruji says, sow an action, reap a tendency. Sow a tendency, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. So destiny is in your own hands. It is your own making, whether you do it or undo it. It is all in your hands. So just as the river merges in the ocean, even so, we should get back to our source from where we have come. We are all in ignorance, covered by the veil of ignorance. So we have to get out of it. Now, before we end the session, see, practicing the teachings of the Gita is more important than listening to the discourses on it. You should put into practice what you're listening. That is more important, not just listening. You put it from one ear, take it out from the other. No, don't make your ears a highway road. You listen to the Gita and put it into practice. Long back, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, in the course of his pilgrimage to South India, while he was traveling, he came across South India. He visited Srirangapatnam. So there he saw a group of people chanting the Bhagavad Gita. He was so much attracted by that. He went there, stood near them, and started listening to the Bhagavad Gita chanting. In that group, everybody had one copy of the Bhagavad Gita in their hands. Every single person had a copy. There was one person who did not have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita in his hand, and tears were just flowing from his eyes. So after they finished the recitation, Krishna Chaitanya went to that person and asked, why is it you are not holding the Bhagavad Gita? Everybody has a copy of it and you don't have it. So that person said, Swamiji, I am an illiterate man. I cannot read. I cannot write. So what is the use holding the Bhagavad Gita in my hand? Then, okay, that is fine. You can't read. You're illiterate. But why are those tears coming out of your eyes? Why are the tears flowing from your eyes? Then that man said, Swamiji, the moment I close my eyes while the recitation is going on, I see visions of Sri Krishna and Arjuna with the chariot, and there is so much illumination all around. I'm not able to control my emotions, and just tears are trickling down my eyes. So Sri Krishna Chaitanya was so much absorbed, so impressed with that man. Then he turned to all the persons and said, he is the only person among you all that is able to perform the Gita Parayana. He is the only one who is able to perform the Gita Parayana in the true sense of the term. That means, it is to say, it is experience that is important. What you listen, you should experience. We must digest what we listen, assimilate the teachings. The technique is genuine recitation and genuine listening. You should have the technique of genuine listening and genuine recitation. That means Shravana, Manana, Nitidhyasana. Shravana means listening. Manana means you should reflect on what has been told and what you have listened. And Nitidhyasana means to put it into daily practice. So here we end this discourse, and now we'll switch on to the repetition of the slokas today, because Puja Sadhguruji wants all of you to learn at least a few slokas. We will learn the 18 slokas, say 20 slokas from the Bhagavad Gita, as well as the Dhyana slokas. So now we'll repeat the first Dhyana sloka today. What I'll do is, first I will read out the Dhyana sloka. First, I will read out bit by bit the Dhyana sloka. That will be repeated by my sister 𝘠𝘩𝘪𝘴. Along with 𝘠𝘠𝘪𝘴, all of you will repeat the sloka in your respective places wherever you are. Please repeat that 3 times. Then after 3 times, she will repeat it again, sentence by sentence. You also chant along with her. Okay? Let's start. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधिताम्
ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधिताम् ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधिताम् ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधिताम्
भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं
भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं
व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना
व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना
मध्ये महाभारतम्
मध्ये महाभारतम् मध्ये महाभारतम् मध्ये महाभारतम्
अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीम्
अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीम्
भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम्
भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम्
अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि
अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि
भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्
भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्
ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं
ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं
व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम्
व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम्
अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम्
अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवती अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम्
अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्
अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि Bhagavad Gita 𝘠𝑀.
Now we'll switch on to the first sloka of the Bhagavad Gita, the opening sloka. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Dhritarashtra Uvacha.
Dhritarashtra Uvacha.
Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre.
Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre.
Samaveta Yuyutsavaha.
Samaveta Yuyussavaha. Samaveta Yuyussavaha. Samaveta Yuyussavaha.
Mamakah Pandavaschaiva.
Mamakah Pandavaschaiva. Mamakah Pandavaschaiva. Mamakah Pandavaschaiva.
Kimakurvata Sanjaya.
Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. Samaveta Yuyussavaha. Mamakah Pandavaschaiva. Kimakurvata Sanjaya.
Next sloka will go to Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Nakankshe Vijayam Krishna.
Nakankshe Vijayam Krishna. Nakankshe Vijayam Krishna. Nakankshe Vijayam Krishna.
Nacharajyam Sukhani cha.
Nacharajyam Sukhani cha. Nacharajyam Sukhani cha. Nacharajyam Sukhani cha.
Kim no Rajyena Govinda.
Kim no Rajyena Govinda. Kim no Rajyena Govinda. Kim no Rajyena Govinda.
Kim Bhogarjivitena va.
Kim Bhogarjivitena va. Kim Bhogarjivitena va. Kim Bhogarjivitena va. Arjuna Vacha. Nakankshe Vijayam Krishna. Nacharajyam Sukhani cha. Kim no Rajyena Govinda. Kim Bhogarjivitena va.
So today this is the repetition, because today we had 3 slokas, because first is the Dhyana sloka, then the first sloka of the first chapter, then the main sloka Arjuna Uvacha. From tomorrow there will be only 1 sloka repetition for each chapter. So tomorrow means the next session, that was on Thursday, I think it's on 21st. 21st we'll all meet again. 21st we'll be discussing the second chapter along with the sloka from the second chapter. So we end this session with a prayer. But before we end this session, a small request. If you have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita with you, a request, please by rote these slokas, what we have repeated today, Dharma, Parthaya Pratibodhitam, Dharma Kshetre, Nakankshe, all these 3 slokas. It is for your own good. As Mahatma Gandhi said, whenever I face disappointments in my life, a difficulty stares at me in my face, I have a problem to be solved, I just meditate on Mother Gita, Gita Mata, and open the Bhagavad Gita. As I open the Bhagavad Gita, that page comes in front of me, in which there is a solution for my problem. So please an earnest request, start reading the Bhagavad Gita, listening to the Bhagavad Gita and putting it into daily practice. Okay, we end the session. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you all. We'll meet on Thursday.